Yo, what is up, you guys? It's Dominator here, and I am back with another Pokemon video. You may have noticed I haven't uploaded in like a week or two. It's mainly because of the fact that I am currently on like my longest shiny hunt ever, and I'm also stuck doing my Dream Team quest for Shining Pearl, and we are resetting, and the resets in those games are terrible. So we're a little stuck with content for a minute, but I figured this would be as good of time as ever to start changing up some things I do, doing a bit of variety on the content. I've wanted to do a video like this for a while, where I wanted to maybe do like a top 10 shiny Pokemon or something like that, because I feel like that'd be kind of fun. But there's a lot of shiny Pokemon, and it's really hard to narrow down top 10. So what I wanted to do was instead do a shiny Pokemon tier list. Now, we're going to start with Generation 1 shiny Pokemon. I am on this tier list maker. I got to open up the window. Here it is, the tier list maker. And we have all of the shiny Pokemon from Gen 1. They are the home sprites. I've noticed there's no Galarian or Alolan form, so maybe if I do future list, those will show up in the other generations. But yeah, this is essentially my opinion on shiny Pokemon, how they look from a design perspective, just mainly the colors. But yeah, this was maybe a little bit inspired by A-Drive's video. After I saw his tier list videos, I just want to say, A-Drive, you're wrong for a lot of what you put in your tier list. I'm just gonna say it straight up. But after I saw his videos, I wanted to make my own because I figured I could make a better one. But yeah, that's basically it. Before we begin though, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. We're actually getting pretty close to 6,000 subscribers, which is insane. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. I think YouTube tells me like 92% of you guys who watch my videos are currently not subscribed, so if you could subscribe to the channel, and let's get that number down as low as possible. Let's try to get below 90%, but let's get right into this. We have all of the Gen 1 shiny Pokemon. It does include Megas and Gigantamax. I might just throw those in. Elephant in the room, we're using the Pokemon home sprites. Now, I do want to say that I could do the older sprites. I could do newer sprites. I want to do Pokemon home, the most recent iterations of these shiny Pokemon designs, because shiny Pokemon change throughout all the generations a lot, and there are some Pokemon that looked better in the older games and some that look better in the newer games. I just wanted to do the most recent versions of them. So let's get right into this. Alright, I totally forgot that we didn't even name the tiers. So we got awful tier, meh tier, good tier, great tier, god tier. So awful tier is essentially just, I don't like this shiny at all. This shiny sucks. It doesn't look good. Meh tier is like, it's okay, it's not terrible, but it's nothing that good. Like, it's just whatever. Good tier is like, you know, it's pretty good. I could name this decent, but like, I don't know, it's like good. I'm gonna be a little more positive on this tier list, because at the end of the day, the whole point of shiny Pokemon is that they're rare, and that's why they're fun to go after, to collect. So, you know, all shinies are pretty good, but some of them just look pretty terrible. So we got good instead of decent, and then we got great, which are like, this is a really good shiny. And then god tier is essentially like the best of the best shinies. Like some of the all-time favorite shinies for the generation for me. I say this a lot, but when I'm going for some shinies, I'll be like, oh, this is one of my favorite shinies. Those might be the god tier ones. So we don't know how this is gonna look. We'll just get right into this. Starting off with a Bulbasaur. I think Bulbasaur is good. We're gonna try, I think we're gonna just put good for all of these. I do think I might order these as I go, but I do think the Ivysaur, Venusaur ones are better than Bulbasaur slightly. After we're done with putting them all in their tiers, we will organize them from best being on the far left to worst being on the far right in their respective tiers. But for now, I'm just gonna put everything of the Bulbasaur line in good. Next, we got Charmander, and honestly, this is going to be kind of controversial. I think Charmander is... Okay, no. I think Charmander is good. I think Charmeleon is meh. It's like a weird, gross, yellowish orange color. And then we got Charizard. Gigantamax Charizard. I guess it's great, right? I feel obligated to put Charizard in God tier. We'll just put him in God tier. You know, this is subject to change. We're going to put these two in great. Mega Charizard X, I think, is better. If I were to order these, probably this order. But I think Charizard is just the go-to, the classic. I think the shiny Squirtle line, or just Squirtle in general, is the best of the 3 first stage starters. So I think I'm going to say great for that one. I love the icy blue color of it, and then the green shell is great. This is going to be weird, but I think Wartortle is just okay. It's like, The orange and the purple and the green is too many clashing colors. It just looks kind of weird. I do like that his belly kind of looks like a basketball, but other than that, it's just a weird mixture of colors. And then we're going to put Blastoise and Mega Blastoise into great. Gigantamax Blastoise, it loses that green shell, which kind of like really takes away from that. I think it's got a greenish tint, but from what I'm seeing now, we're just going to say meh. All right, moving on to the Caterpie line. All of them going into great. Now, I don't think any of them are really God tier. I guess Gigantamax Butterfree is pretty much the same. We got the Beedrill line. I think shiny Weedle is meh. Kakuna, I guess it's good. Like, it's okay. It's good. I think Beedrill's better than Kakuna, but not that much better. Like, the only difference is the eyes are blue, which does take it up a notch in my opinion, just not that much. So that's good. Shiny Pidgey is pretty bad. Is it bad though? I think no, we're gonna put it in meh. Pidgeotto is good. Pidgeot I think is great. There's gonna be a lot of greats. Like, great's gonna be the tier that I do, and I think Mega Pidgeot is even better because it has the purple accents on it, which looks cool. Rattata's meh. Raticate I think is good. I love the dark orange, reddish orange of Raticate. I think that's sick. For Spiro, I think Spiro is good. A lot of people hate shiny Spiro, but I think it's pretty good. I love the yellow and black. You can't see it too well in this sprite, but its back is black, and it looks really cool with the yellow. I really like it. It's a pretty hated shiny just because of how common it is. Do I want to put Spiro in meh or in awful? I don't know. It's not awful. It's just nowhere near as good as Spiro, and it just is kind of a gross color. Moving on for Ekans line, we're gonna put Ekans at good and Arbok at great. Arbok is such a cool shiny, like the blue and the yellow. Oh my gosh, so cool. Bit of a weird one, but I'm actually gonna put Pikachu. We'll put Pikachu at good. We'll put him near at the end. We'll put him near the higher end of good. I used to hate shiny Pikachu. I thought it looked terrible, but as the generations went on, they made it a lot more darker orange, and I think it looks a lot cooler. So there's that. Gigantamax Pikachu is the same, so we'll put that. And then I would also put Raichu in good, but slightly above Pikachu in my opinion. Sandshrew I'll put at good. Sandslash is great. Sandslash is such a cool shiny with the red and like the tannish color. So cool. It's between good and meh for me. They don't do too much. I'll just put them in meh, honestly. I might have to knock some Pokemon down in the awful tier to make it a little more balanced. But Nidoran female and Nidorina, they're whatever. They're not that exciting, but they're still kind of cool, I guess. Nidoqueen I'm going to put in good. Nidoqueen, a bit of a controversial one. Everyone hates it. I think it's kind of cool just for the fact that it changes so much. It's just like a weird, it's nowhere near as cool as Nidoking, but it is up there. It's definitely, I think it's cool. It's a gross color combination, but I think it works well. That's just my opinion. We're going to put Nidoran male on meh, Nidorino, oh wait, no, Nidorino's on meh, Nidoran male is on good. Wasted potential in the Generation 3 games, Nidoran male and Nidorino both had the same color blue as Nidoking, and they were way cooler. Nidoran male didn't go down that much, but Nidorino I think looks so much worse than it did before, so that's why it's in meh. But it's still, I mean, it's still kind of a cool blue shiny. Nidoking, I think we gotta put in God tier. I think it's just, you can't go wrong with this. Plus, I'm a sucker for blue shinies. Blue shinies are some of my favorite shinies. Clefairy is good or meh? It's okay. I guess I'll just say good for now. Vulpix is meh. Ninetales I think is great. I wouldn't say God tier for Ninetales. It's great. It's a good shiny, but I don't. Is it God tier? I don't know. Also, as I'm making more rows, I'm realizing that we're like sliding down a bit. So now we shouldn't be cutting off the top of the list anymore. My apologies. This is like the first time I'm doing this. But all right. So yeah, I think Clefairy and Clefable are good. Should I put them in meh? We're gonna put them in meh. Honestly, they're meh. They're not like that bad, but they're meh. Same with Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff. I think Wigglytuff's a little better because it's more purple, but they're kind of meh. Zubat, Golbat. I'm going to put Zubat in meh and Golbat in good. The pink wings on the Golbat make it look way better. Oddish, meh. No. Yeah, we'll put them on meh. It's just green. Bloom, I think, is good. The orange makes it. And then Vileplume is... we're going to put great on Vileplume, honestly. Great. I love the huge, just orange flower that you see on Vileplume. I think it looks fantastic. Paris. Paris looked so much cooler in Gen 3. It's meh now. Parasect. Okay. I was giving this thing all the buzz in Let's Go. It's cooler in Let's Go than from this sprite, so I think for this sprite we're gonna put it in meh or in good. But Let's Go, it's a lot more saturated, and it just looks like this gross like McDonald's red and yellow color, and I just think it looks so cool that way. So, but we're going off of these sprites, so that's why it's in good and not great. I think we gotta put Venonat in great, and then we gotta put Venomoth in God tier. A lot of people are reversed on this. I love blue shinies. Venonat's a cool shiny, but it's really only its eyes and mouth or nose that change color. But Venomoth is just insane blue. It's similar, like, I mean, it's very similar to Nidoking in that regard, which I love that. So that's why it's in God tier. It's one of the best. Diglett and Dugtrio are nothing special. I'm gonna group Meowth and Gigantamax Meowth together, but we're gonna put them in good. Now, I was saying in my Let's Go video they are underrated shinies. I think they're actually pretty cool with the tan skin and the pink accents to it. I think it looks pretty cool. Not the craziest shiny, so it's just going in good, but I think they're underrated for sure. Persian, I guess this is our first awful Persian. It's like only the ears that change, right? It's like the ears change, and its skin is so slightly different that you can't even tell, but it's not a good shiny. It's so bad. It's pretty bad. All right, Psyduck. Psyduck, we're looking at great. Golduck's just good. Psyduck's just way cooler. Mankey's meh. Primeape. I think Primeape is good. I think Primeape does it better than Mankey, the green. Growlith and Arcanine are both great. I think these are good shinies. I think Arcanine's a little better, but they're very similar because obviously it's just a little more bright yellow. Poliwag. This is another bit of a controversial one. Poliwag is a really hated shiny because it doesn't change much. I love the light color on it. I think it's pretty underrated. I personally think Poliwhirl is the most underrated, so this is gonna be a weird one for a lot of people, but Poliwag I think is good. Poliwhirl is great. I just love the blue on Poliwhirl. Is just so cool. I don't know what it is, even though it doesn't change much. I think some subtle shinies are really cool. They don't all have to be ridiculously different, but I think Poliwhirl pulls it off. Poliwrath I think is great as well. I don't know which one I like better. Probably Poliwhirl, but Poliwrath is still really cool. I think I gotta put Abra and Kadabra both in awful. I'm sorry. I was being really strict on awful tier for a while. I think we've opened the floodgates. It's just what they could have been. In Gen 3, they were darker skin toned as opposed to lighter skin tone. Not even Gen 3, it was just Fire Red Leaf Green. They were darker skin toned, and their bodies, like the brownish part on their bodies, were purple instead of like the brownish color that's gross. And oh my gosh, Kadabra's back sprite in Fire Red Leaf Green is so cool. The fact that it goes from that to this garbage is just so unfortunate. And then we're gonna put Alakazam on good. I guess we'll just put Mega Alakazam next to it. It's different. It's purple instead of pink, but it's very similar. I think Machop is meh. It's just kind of like a gross brownish color. Machamp I think is good. I think Machoke is great. It's just the subtle things, man. The blue accents on Machoke makes it so much cooler. So it's a full split tier list. They're all different. It's just what, you know what? I'll put it in good. If I'm putting Machamp in good, I'll put Machop in good just because it's just, I don't know, it's different enough to look fine. Gigantamax Machamp, I guess, similar, I don't know. Bellsprout, I think Bellsprout's good. I think Weepin' Bell is meh. Oh, it's pretty bad though. It's just so not that interesting. And then Victory Bell's great. Like, come on. Like, come on. Are you kidding me? That's a great shiny. We're gonna do this for the tier list for now. We'll figure out if we need to change stuff. We definitely will. I think Tentacruel is great. Tentacruel is good just because it's not the same. We're gonna have to zoom out. All right, things have been resized yet again. Hopefully this looks good. Moving on to Geodude. I think Geodude is great. I think Graveler is good. This one's a little lighter than normal. It's more of a brownish color in game, but and I think Golem's good. It's just lighter. I mean, it's a orangish color, so it's kind of cool, but I don't think it's that special, honestly. Ponyta, oh man. I think we just got to put them both in great. I don't want to be flexing the god tier too much, but these are borderline. They pretty much are. Both of them are really cool in their own way. Slowpoke is meh. 100% meh. Slowbro is god tier. I'm sorry. Slowbro is just such a cool shiny from Gen 1. The purple and like bronze color. Like, how does that color combination work so well? It just looks so cool. In every game it's in, it looks fantastic. They haven't changed it. Maybe in like Coliseum or XD they have, but for the most part, it's just such a cool shiny. Like, come on, that is just insane. Magnemite, I think, is good. Magneton, I guess, is just good. They're pretty much the same. Do I want to put them in great? I don't know. They're not that crazy. Farfetch'd, I think, is great. Galarian Farfetch'd is terrible, though, if you want to, like, go into that. But, Doduo. They're good. They're not crazy, but they're good. Seal, I think, is meh. And Dugong, I think, is awful. Seal at least has the added benefit of its mouth being like a way darker tan color, when Dugong just doesn't look that much different. Especially in the older games, it's really hard to tell these things are shiny. But, yep. Look at the color scheme of my awful tier. It's like beige and then like the gross green that is Weepin' Bell. Weepin' Bell's kind of an outlier, but I guess you can see the theme of what my tastes are like. Grimer, I think, is great. Muck, I think, is good. I don't like the darker color on Muck is just okay. Oh, this is gonna be tough, dude. Dude, I might have to put... Oh, no, dude. No. There's a lot of shinies in Gen 1. This is subject to change. We'll do some quick changing at the end, but for now, we gotta do it. We gotta put Shelder and Cloyster and Ghastly all in god tier. Shelder is one of those rare instances where it changes drastically in color when it evolves, but they're both so cool in their own way. Oh my gosh, the royal blue Cloyster. I've heard people say Cloyster doesn't look much different than the normal one. That couldn't have been more false. It goes from like a chalky purple to just a royal blue, and it looks incredible. Shelder, just such a cool orange color, and like the purplish inside. It's like black, but it's like purplish on the inside. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. And then Ghastly, the purple and blue. Yeah, so we gotta put those all in god tier. I think Haunter is meh. I think Gengar's awful. I mean, like, come on. There's so many ways they could change Gengar to make it look good. It's just, I personally think they could have followed the theme of blue. Like, I don't know what it is. Game Freak has changed shinies in the past, especially even recently. They changed Kangaskhan. It was like really terrible in the Gen 6 and 7 games, and then in Gen 8 it was like a really nice red color. So, like, I think part of me thinks they don't change Gengar because it's like iconically bad. So if they were to randomly change it, it would be weird. But Oh, I mean, I think all they need to do is make the inside of the mouth blue like Haunter, and then make the eyes blue, and keep that, like, silvery purple. It would look so much cooler. I even, like, photoshopped a mock-up of it. Maybe if I can find that, I'll put it on screen now, but I think that would make Gengar look so much cooler. I think it looks sick like that, but it's just so disappointing as a shiny right now. Oh, man, what could have been? I'm going to group Gigantamax and Mega Gengar together. I think they're good. People think they're like the greatest shiny ever. I disagree. I think they would have been way better with the blue theme from the other evolutions. I think, to me, it looks like they're trying a little too hard for the shinies to make it look different and make it different from the regular Gengar, but I don't know. It's whatever. They're not bad. They're just not great. So I'm putting them in good tier. Onyx I don't think is that good. It's just a gross green color. I'm going to put Drowsy on good and Hypno on great because I love just the saturated color of Hypno. So cool. Krabby I think is good. I think we're going to put both Kinglers on great as well. This one's really borderline God tier, but we're going to put it there, and then we're going to put Electrode high of great tier, I guess. I mean, I'm a sucker for blue shinies. I think they both look really cool. I like Electrode more as a Pokemon, but Voltorb, it's just the darker blue looks so cool. Execute, I think is great. Executor, I think is great. Cubone, meh. Marowak, better than Cubone, I guess. We're going to put Hitmonlee here. Hitmonchan, I think I'm going to put in great because it's such a crazy looking shiny. The disgusting green color with the blue gloves. I don't know what it is. It looks sick. But Lickitung, I'm going to chuck in great. And we're putting Coughing and Wheezing both in God tier. These are top tier shinies. These sprites make them look a lot more different than they are from each other, but they're very similar in color. It's just like a tealish green. I think out of these two, I think Coughing does it a little better out of these specific sprites, but they're very similar in shinies, and they're just so cool. They're insane. I think Rhyhorn is good, and Rhydon is meh. Chansey, I think, is great. Like, I don't know what it is. Sometimes when the gross colors come together, they look fantastic, and I think Chansey looks good. I just think it looks good. Blissey sucks though. Tangela is good. Like, it's a green shiny, but it's just blue to green. Like, it's not that crazy. I think Kangaskhan's great. Shiny Kangaskhan looks so cool. The like grayish color, like that's sick. And then the green. The green doesn't do much for me, but the gray skin tone is, I don't know. That's such an interesting shiny. You don't see that very often. Horsey I think is great. Dude. I think I gotta put Seadra in God tier. I'm sorry. If you guys think I'm just throwing God tiers left and right, I'm sorry, but it's such a cool shiny. Like, are you kidding? That like, it's like it's like an indigo, and the like reddish color. That's so cool. Goldeen, Matt, and I'm gonna say Seeking's awful because. Especially if you look back at the older games, Seeking was like way more of a yellow color. In fact, I'm not even convinced that's the shiny Seeking sprite. It probably is, but it looks just nowhere near as good as in the later games. It just looks barely any different. It's slightly lighter, not great. All right, Staryu and Starmie. I think we gotta put both of them in God tier. It's another one of those Shelder and Cloyster situations. Like, it does feel like I'm throwing out God tier left and right, but I think these do it so well. Also, we are going off of the home sprites, but I just can't with Starmie. Starmie's got to be the only exception for this one. I don't know why Starmie's gem in the home sprite is purple. It's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to be blue, and it looks way cooler when it's blue. So every other game shiny Starmie is in, except maybe Coliseum and XD. I'm not sure about those two. The gem is blue. And it looks way cooler. I think Starmie with the blue gem, which I'm going to say with the blue gem, we're putting it above Staryu. I think Starmie's cooler than Staryu. It's just, when I got a shiny Starmie for my living dex, it was like one of my favorite shinies I had. It was so cool when I was like, I was like debating if I should have evolved it because Staryu was so cool, but then I didn't. I was like, I'm glad I evolved this. This thing was so cool. All right, Mr. Mime is good. We'll put him at good. Scyther is pretty bad. I'm gonna put Scyther in awful. Obviously it doesn't change much. That's not really why. I just think like it gets a darker green and it's like joints, like where its arms bend and like a little bit on the chest area turn pink. I just don't think it's that good of a color combination, honestly. Like it could have been way cooler. Jinx, I think is great. It's like silvery ice type, like the silver hair and the pink dress. Such a good shiny. We're not putting it in God tier, but it's such a good shiny. Electabuzz, I think, is good. It's orange. Like it's not as cool of an orange as say Raticate or Raichu, but it's orange. It's there. I guess we'll put Magmar in great. The pink flames is cool. It just kind of does it for me. It's borderline though between good and great. It's not like the craziest shiny, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. Pinsir we're gonna definitely put in great. Mega Pinsir we'll just say it's the same. Tauros is meh. Tauros was so much cooler in the older games. Its skin tone was more of a yellow, and then the green mane was like a brighter green, and it just looked way cooler. They kind of ruined it in the later games, but it's not terrible. It's just not good, so it's in meh. I think we all know where Magikarp's go. Do I want to put Magikarp in God tier? We'll put if I'm putting Electrode in great, we're putting these two in great as well. They're like borderline though. Like they're super iconic, but they're just like, I mean, it's pretty obvious where my tastes have gone if you look at the top of the God tier. They're great. They're really great shinies. I think they work well paired with like the Caterpie line, the Sandslash, the Electrode, and the Ponyta. I think they fit well in that tier. Mega Gyarados we'll just put next to it. Lapras, I think, is great. Not God tier, but great. Gigantamax is fine. Ditto's God tier, 100%. Ditto's God tier. Eevee is good or great? We'll put Eevee in great. The whitish color is pretty cool. I think I'm going to put Vaporeon in great. Jolteon in good? Or meh? This is a tough one. Well, their subject to change. For now, it's going to be in meh, and I just think Flareon's terrible. I think Flareon is the worst evolution. It's between Flareon and Leafeon for me. I think they're pretty bad. But I'll just put Flareon in awful. It's just like, it doesn't change that much, but it turns into more of a gross color, which is not good. Porygon's going to go in great. It's a really good shiny. Not quite God tier. I love all the fossil shinies. We're gonna put Ammonite and Amistar in good. We're gonna put Kabuto in good. And we're gonna put Kabutops in great. Aerodactyl, I think we're gonna put in great. I'd say all the time these are really good shinies, but like, I don't know, compared to this set we have up here, it's just hard to, I do have Chansey. Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna move Amistar and Ammonite into great. I still think this stands down here, just because they're not as cool of shinies, but they're still kind of cool. Gigantamax. We're just gonna pair the Snorlaxes together. I think Snorlax, not quite. Oh, dude, that looks cool up there. Not quite God tier. I think Snorlax is super underrated, but Snorlax is most definitely high great tier. It's definitely like up there in the great tier. It's at the front right now, but it'll probably change. But it's borderline. It is borderline. I think Snorlax is such a cool shiny, and you guys who think Snorlax looks no different as a shiny, you guys are just wrong. I'm sorry, you're just wrong. Articuno, I think, is great as well. It is the best shiny legendary bird of the 3 Kanto birds, 100%. Zapdos is meh, and I think I slam on Moltres so often. I can't put it in awful tier. I just have to put it in meh. In my opinion, I think Articuno's the coolest because, like, you guys think, like, maybe subtle shiny. It is a subtle shiny. It's not, like, the most subtle. I think there are more subtle shinies out there. But I think that icy blue just works so well for it. It looks so cool. It's the perfect kind of shiny for it is how you do a subtle shiny, right? Like, it doesn't change much, but it changes for the better. I mean, Moltres is pretty much borderline for me. I think it's the worst of the 3 birds because it's just, it looked so much cooler in Gen 2. In Gen 2, the flames were like red and white, and it had the pink skin. But now it's like the flames are just orange and yellow, and it just looks disgusting with the pink. And that's just why I don't like it. But I don't, it's not as bad as these ones down here, I don't think. Maybe it is. We could put it at high of awful for now. It might change. Zapdos is definitely a low tier. It's not good, but I think it's not as terrible to look at as Moltres, in my opinion. We got the Dratini line. My favorite Pokemon of all time, Dragonite. We're gonna start with Dratini though. I think Dratini's great. I think Dragonair is God tier. I said it. It's God tier. I might be a little biased. But Dragonair, the gold gems on it, and it's more saturated than Dratini. It just looks so cool. Oh, it's so cool. And then Dragonite is like basically my mascot. My favorite Pokemon of all time. Oh, is it matte or is it good? The purple really does it, but the green is gross. I think I've put worse in good. It's gonna be low of good tier. It's not that good of a shiny, I'm sorry. And then Mewtwo, I think Mewtwo's great. It's like, you know, it's a good green. Like they made its skin tone more whitish, and then the green makes it look good. And then Mew, top of God tier. Top of God tier is Mew. Mew, it might be my favorite shiny of all time. But here's my list for now. We're gonna order these for how I think they are in order, hopefully. Within their tiers, we might move them back and forth, but we'll see what happens. All right, I have reordered everything to the best of my ability. There are some things that were pretty hard. I did move 2 Pokemon to a different tier, but pretty much this is probably as good as you can get it. This is my personal opinion on the tiers of the Gen 1 shiny Pokemon. This is apparently not including Galarian or Alolan forms, but it is including Megas and Gigantamax. So, God tier, we have Mew at the top. I think Mew might as well be my favorite shiny Pokemon of all time. It's tough. I do really like shiny Mega Gardevoir as well. But, and there's some other shinies here and there that I think just are insane and really cool. Like Starmie, I think Starmie is another really good one, and like Coughing too. Like, between Coughing and Slowbro, Coughing, Wheezing, Slowbro, Mega Slowbro, those are kind of grouped together. Those are interchangeable. I think you could totally swap both of those around and it'd be totally fine. Ditto, very similar to Mew, but part of the reason I like shiny Mew is that it's a good shiny on a really cool Pokemon, and just like the thought of Mew, like how rare it is, and having a shiny one would just be like the craziest thing. It's just more of like the lore behind it than just the color. So I am a little biased in that regard, but that's why I know they're really similar shinies, and that's why Mew is a lot higher than Ditto. They're both in God tier. They're both really cool shinies. I think Venomoth is pretty much the same as Ditto. These are all very similar in my tiers. Like this area right here, it's like Voltorb, Nidoking, Staryu, Venomoth. Those are all very similar. I think even Voltorb could afford to be like in the mix of the Shelder and Cloyster area. Like these are all very similar. In fact, we'll just put Voltorb in between them. I do think Shelder is cooler than Cloyster, not by a ton, but it's definitely cooler. And then in terms of lower tier, I think maybe these guys could change. Like, these are pretty interchangeable. It doesn't really matter. And then the lowest end of God tier, I think, is Dragonair or Charizard. Borderline top of Great tier. Moving on to Great tier, we had to do a lot. There's a lot of this could be changed, like switched in and out. It got to a point where it was kind of, there were so many options. It's just like, is this one really better than that one? At that point, like, it doesn't really matter. They're all, in my opinion, when I look at like a group of the shinies together, it's like, yeah, they're all pretty much the same, like, coolness factor. But top of Great tier, we got obviously Snorlax. It's borderline God tier. Same with like Ponyta and Electrode. I mean, they're very similar in terms of like what I put at the God tier. Borderline. God tier. Then we got the Mega Charizard X, which I think is a really cool shiny. I think is it underrated? I don't know. I think it's really cool. Then we got the Rapidash, Venonat, Sandslash, Arbok, and then it was pretty hard. I had to split up the Caterpie line. I think they're very similar in terms of shinies. There were just some cooler things. In fact, I think Metapod could even go lower. I think Metapod could go like here because Psyduck and Executor and Hypno are just so cool, and Metapod is really cool too. Like it is borderline, like moving that around. Then we got Butterfree and Caterpie. Caterpie's still really cool, but I think it's the worst of the three of the line. And then when I was throwing in Magikarp and Gyarados, I think, in my opinion, a lot of people would probably put Magikarp and Gyarados at God tier. I think they're really cool shinies, but in my opinion, they are like, don't get me wrong, everything that's in great tier is pretty much a really cool shiny, but I think in terms of my value of like how I like the shiny, it does feel similar to where the Caterpie stands. Maybe even like in this Metapod Butterfree area, but it's just like at that point, does it really matter? I don't know. I think I might have been a little too kind to the Squirtle line, but I didn't really know where to put them. They're very close. I could put them. Honestly, Squirtle might be lower than Blastoise, but I still think it's really cool. I mean, this whole line could be moved lower and higher in the list, and I don't think it would matter too much. That's kind of how I feel. We got the underrated Poliwhirl over here, and then we moved on to Victory Bell. Articuno started up at the top, and then I kind of moved it more in the middle. I do think the Gigantamax and Mega Charizard Y aren't really as perfect as the regular Charizard, so they're lower. And the Mega one's really cool too. Horsey, you know, a lot of these similar color palettes are put next to each other. I think Poliwrath is pretty good here, but it could move down if I really wanted to, but it's fine there. Yep, these are all pretty accurate. We got the Execute, Vileplume, Growlith, Arcanine, all these stuff. You can just scroll through these. At this point, all of the shinies in like this area, the second to last row, and even partially the last row, I think are just like, you know, there's not really one I could pick out as being cooler than the rest, except maybe like Jinx and Kangaskhan, which, I mean, they are at the top. Lapras might be able to move, but it's like kind of weird. And then, yeah, I put Dratini and Geodude, and then the Mewtwo's and Chansey at the bottom of great tier. I think Chansey could even be high good tier, and I think it wouldn't really matter. Then we got the good tier. It's kind of funny because when I was near the bottom of good tier, I was like, yep, none of these shinies do much for me. I don't know where to put them, so they're kind of all just grouped at the bottom. But we got some standouts. We got some ones that just barely didn't make great tier, and that's basically these four. Nidoran Male, Raticate, Tentacruel, and Drowsy. They probably could be in great tier. In fact, some might argue, honestly, I could honestly argue that they're cooler than Mewtwo and Chansey, and like, we could put these guys up here and Mewtwo and Chansey lower. But I don't really want to do that right now. But now we got the Venusaur, the rest of the Bulbasaur line. I did chuck Muck in here because I do think Muck is pretty cool of a shiny. And not as cool as like these ones, but I think it's better than Bulbasaur, so that's kind of where that came from. Controversial, but I think Nidoqueen is one of the higher end of good tier. I just think it's kind of a cool shiny. A lot in this area right here is all very similar. Like, you could interchange them, it wouldn't really matter. Same with like these ones. I mean, maybe I put Poliwag higher up. Actually, I'm definitely putting Poliwag higher up. Poliwag could go here. It could go in the middle. It doesn't matter. We'll just put him here because I just think he's underrated. It's nowhere near as cool as Poliwhirl, but it is underrated in my opinion. All these guys, a lot of green in Kanto, a lot of green shinies in Kanto, so it just kind of became a blur of where to put them. But I do think Machamp's really cool. I think Machoke was in great, so Machamp is in good. I think Machop was low end of good tier. And we got the Krabby, the Graveler, and Golem. Like, you know, these are all like kind of getting in the meh area. I realized I was a little too harsh on Wartortle and Gigantamax Blastoise, so I knocked him up, and honestly, they kind of surpassed a lot of the shinies in good tier, so I think they're better off here. Maybe even go a little higher. I'm not sure. It's like at this point, it's all just kind of like whatever. Obviously, Dragonite I didn't think was the worst of the good tier, but pretty low on good tier. I mean, like you could easily swap Dragonite out for like some of these, and it wouldn't really matter. I might be a little biased. Meh tier. So obviously, top of Meh tier, we got Nidorino and Charmeleon. A lot of these ones, up until pretty much Zubat, I think could definitely be in good tier as well. But, yeah, I don't know, we put them in that tier for why not. And a lot of more green shinies. A lot of shinies that don't change much, they change just a little bit. Like, for example, the green ears on Clefairy, Clefable, the green eyes on Jigglypuff, the blue nose on the Diglett line. Pretty much all these green shinies, which, yeah. And then I put bottom of Mets here was, I think Goldeen is worse than Zapdos, honestly. It's just not interesting at all. And, I mean, even Zapdos might be better than Mankey. Mankey's just not that good. These are all just pretty not that, they're pretty meh. Honestly, I did a pretty good job, I think, with that. And then awful tier. I couldn't put Moltres being the worst one. I don't think it's that bad. It's just bad, you know? It's not good at all. It's borderline. Like, Moltres is definitely borderline meh tier. It is kind of in the same vein as like Zapdos in Goldeen, I'll give it that. But I had to have a king of the awful tier. One being one that's like actually not that terrible. And then, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how these turned out. Apparently my least favorite shiny in Kanto is Persian, of all things. I guess. I hate on other shinies more, but when you line them all up with each other, it's, yeah, I guess it makes sense that Persian is the worst shiny of Kanto. And like, all these shinies in awful tier are pretty bad. I think if anything, like maybe Scyther can get moved up to like here. It wouldn't make that much of a difference. And the only one that's kind of controversial, I think, is Moltres. That could just be maybe in that tier, why not? But that is my tier list. That was a lot harder than I thought it would be. So there's my opinion on these shiny Pokemon. If you want to see more tier list videos of the other generations, make sure you leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new. Comment below if you do want to see them, because I read all the comments. And yeah, it's pretty much my tier list. We're going for a shiny Kanto Living Dex as well, so if you want to check that out, there'll be a playlist maybe at the end of this video, we don't know. But, you know, we're trying to get all these shinies, so we'll see what happens. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring those notification bells, all that good stuff. Be sure to join the domination, and I will see you in the next video.